Okay. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Tribal Government's HAF Quarterly and Annual Report Overview. We're really excited to be able to provide this opportunity to speak with you all and provide an overview of what's required this reporting season. We've got our disclaimer here. This presentation is designed to give an overview of the Homeowner Assistance Fund quarterly and annual reporting process under the HAF program for educational purposes. It should not be construed as legal advice or a statement of binding policy guidance from the Treasury. For official Treasury guidance, go to www.treasury.gov/HAF. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jen Parisian, Policy Advisor from the Office of Tribal and Native Affairs, to just give us a little bit of a background. Jen?
Sure. Thank you, Courtney. So as Courtney said, I work in the Office of Tribal and Native Affairs. I am from the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians, and I work primarily with all of you on compliance of Treasury grants. So today we're here to share our knowledge with you all, with your tribe or your TDHE on how to do the annual and quarterly reports for the HAF program. And just to recap, for those that might be new to the program or new to your position, the HAF program is a critical part of the Biden-Harris administration's broad strategy to help homeowners and renters avoid foreclosure and eviction, stabilize the country's housing market, and improve the nation's economy as it recovers from the COVID-19 pandemic. And we know as the pandemic began, the unemployment rate in the U.S. hit unprecedented levels at 14.8%, but in comparison, the Native American unemployment rate, that climbed to nearly 29% at the beginning of the pandemic. And most of that was the closure of tribal businesses in gaming and in hospitality. So that was a leading factor of the Native American unemployment rate. And I know that many of you on this call, you work for your tribes or many tribal citizens, tribal members, staff, the tribal businesses. So this really impacted Indian country. And these closures, they pushed a lot of Native households across Indian country to fall behind in their mortgages, utilities, and many of them already struggled with the cost of housing. So specifically, the HAF program, quick recap, it provides assistance with mortgage payments, homeowners insurance, utility payments, property tax, support to make the homes habitable, and other purposes that are in the guidance we found on our website to help recover from the pandemic. So with that being said, the goals of tribal government financial management, we know, are to grow the tribal economy, ensure programs and services, including culture, language, that they're carried out in perpetuity. And financial statements, they're a key part of the tribal financial management. And they have a purpose to provide relevant information not only to tribal citizens or tribal members, to be accountable to the people, tribal leadership, but other stakeholders, and that includes us here at Treasury, federal government officials, and other funders. So in case you're asking, why does Treasury collect all this information, or why do we require reports? It's really to be sure that the funding is being used for recovery. You're helping the people that need help, and you're prioritizing those that need help the most. And grant reporting also demonstrates compliance with the terms and conditions of the grant, that you're being accountable for the funds. And reporting also helps us make good policy decisions here at Treasury. But there's also another reason to be sure that you file your reports on time, and especially to do that with accuracy. And that is on the screen here that Courtney has this presentation. It's a testing item on the single audit. So a single audit, that's again required when your tribe or your TDHE spends more than $750,000 in grants in a year. Keyword there is spend, not receive. For those that may not know, on this slide, we've got two links, one to the 2022 compliance supplement and the other to the 2023. But this is a really important tool that's publicly available and it can help you prepare for your audit. It's released yearly, and it tells auditors what to test for in grant programs, and it gives them an overview of the grant program. So this chart on the screen is taken out of the 2023 compliance supplement for the HAF program. And note in the red box, there's a Y, a yes, next to reporting. That means that the reporting is going to be included as a testing item. So did your tribe or your TDHE file your report on time or within the time frame? And did you do it with accuracy? So this is one of the easiest potential audit findings to avoid. And, be sure that after you certify and submit the report, that you download a PDF copy for your records to prepare for the audit. So this is a good tool for you to use. Next slide, please. This slide here is a screenshot of your award terms and agreement. And the award terms and agreement, that's an official legal document that you signed in order to receive the funding or be part of the program. It includes all the terms and conditions. So this is a really great resource in addition to the compliance supplement to use as a compliance tool. It's an essential resource for the life of the funding. Make sure you or new staff are familiar with it. Don't just file it away after you have chairman or the tribal administrator sign it. It contains really great information like the period of performance, things like caps on administrative costs, and just as a reminder for HAF, that's 15%, and any other kind of special conditions of the award. And of course, today's topic, reporting. So it's basically, what are you on the hook for? What are you promising to do to get this funding? And for reporting, be sure that you look over that section in the award terms and agreement in conjunction with the reporting guidance. And speaking of guidance, I'll now turn it back over to Courtney, and she's going to walk you through where to find these great resources.
Thank you so much, Jen. I really appreciate it as usual. And we will walk you all through the reporting process to the best of our ability, and then we'll take questions after this. So as Jen mentioned, this is a link to our homepage here at the top to Treasury.gov /HAF. And you'll see in the left-hand side that there's a number of resources that are available to you. So all these titles on the side are links to separate pages with additional information. So we're very excited to have a self-service resource available on the website. So if you have a question, this is a really great place to start. So that's right on the home page. You'll also see, if you scroll down a little bit more, that there's a new section dedicated entirely to resources for tribes. So you'll see guidance, tribal resources. So this includes webinars and slides on HAF plan submissions. If you haven't already done so, please get that in, as well as the single audit requirements that Jen spoke about earlier. There's allocations and payments for tribes. If you have not yet requested your allocation adjustment, there's information there. We've got resources for reporting, designating HAF points of contact to make sure that your reporting process goes very smoothly. Signing up for the Tribal Affairs newsletter. So this is a great resource that Jen's team puts together every week to give you an update on what's going on across ORP programs and other resources that you might be interested in. So that contains the link for the office hours that we hold weekly. And then sometimes we provide other webinars that do a deeper dive on things like single audits, grants management, procurement practices, as well as subrecipient monitoring. But we'll get to that later. But do sign up for the Tribal Affairs newsletter for great content. And then finally, we have the 2023 HAF compliance supplement that we shared earlier. So if we click on that, one of the titles on the left-hand side underneath the guidance. So you'll see that we've got some starred resources here. The guidance, we periodically update that to provide a little bit more clarity. So do make sure that you are up to date on the HAF guidance. A little bit further down the page, we have other guidance around allocations, payments, and award terms. Reporting guidance, which is very important for what we're about to go over today, because today is more of a general overview, but that bullet point reporting guidance really goes into depth about different responsibilities and more definitions. So do check that out. And then there's the 2023 and 2022 HAF compliance supplements that we talked about earlier, just to give you more information about compliance practices. And then below on the guidance page, we have the specific tribal resources, including the Introduction to Single Audit Compliance for Tribal Entities. So you'll see a link to the recorded webinar and slide deck, as well as an overview for submitting HAF plans for tribal governments. So again, if you have not yet gotten your HAF plan in, there's no time like the present to get that in. We really want to make sure that you have ample time to spend down your allocation and get the help into homeowners in your community. This is also where the today's recording and today's slides will be stored. So we'll be hopefully posting those sometime early next week. So the next, we wanted to give you some tips on how to access Treasury's portal and some quirks that you can overcome to make your reporting process that much easier. So accessing Treasury's portal requires ID.me or login.gov access. So this means that your authorized representative or your account administrator and your reporting contact have to register their email address with either login.gov or ID.me. And then that email account that's been registered must be then put into Treasury's portal, or we'll show you how to do this later, and associated with your tribe's account within Treasury's portal. All of these functions, adding contacts and submitting the actual report, have to be done by the authorized user or the account administrator. And they must be verified through ID.me in order to submit your HAF plan and the reports. So just as a heads up, authorized representatives and account administrators should be verified through ID.me. So sometimes browsers can be a little bit picky, so be sure that you're working in Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome. The most recent version of Safari does not work well in Internet Explorer. That is one of the most common challenges that we saw last major reporting period, last November. In addition to make sure you've got your pop-ups enabled in your browser. So those are some pretty basic items. And then navigating the portal itself, the reports, you're going to want to click Save after you've completed each section and then click Next. That helps with the validation and also make sure you don't have to double check your work. So just moving right along, again, commonly asked questions. And I saw that many of you did ask questions in advance of this session. So hopefully this answers one of our most common ones. Do we have to complete both the annual and quarterly reports? Yes. So you'll see, and we'll get into this a bit the next slide, that for November 15th, 2023, all tribes that have received their 10% allocation. So even if you have not submitted a HAF plan, you must submit two reports. One is called the quarterly and one is called the annual. So the quarterly report is more of a quantitative approach. And for tribes with allocations, or I'm sorry, awards that are greater than $5 million, those are due quarterly. Those with awards less than $5 million, you only complete a quarterly report every November. So I know that could be a little confusing, but just for November 15th, everybody has to do a quarterly and annual report. Annual reports are more qualitative, and each of these the annual reports reflect activities October 1st to September 30th. We have the definition of an obligation. I'll let you all read that. You do still have to report if you haven't spent any funds. So 0 is an answer. And we just want to make sure that we know that you haven't spent any funds if that is in fact the case. So please do submit a report. When does the HAF period of performance end? It ends September 30th of 2026. And so all HAF award funds must be obligated by that date. And then expenditures for those obligations have to be completed within 120 days after that date. So if your tribe has not yet submitted their HAF plan, 2026 may feel like a long way away. It is not. It's going to fly by, and there's a ton of things that we want to get going and up and running with your HAF program and get these funds into the hands of homeowners. So then this last bullet, what is the reporting period? Annual reports, as I mentioned before, October 1st to September 30th of this year. And then depending on whether or not you submit a quarterly report on a quarterly basis, it's that if your award is more than 5 million, then it's a cumulative, just from the last quarter. And then quarterly reports for tribes with awards less than 5 million, those are reflected from activities October 1st to September 30th. So hopefully that heads off quite a few of the questions that we saw beforehand. This is just a visual. This is from the reporting guidance resource that I put it out earlier, and just re-emphasizing that the next reports are due. Do keep in mind that if you anticipate that your tribe will not be able to file on time, the deadline to request an extension is 7 days prior to the portal closing, or November 8th. So you're going to have to go onto the portal and click request an extension in order to get that extension 7 days prior. So now that we've gone through all of the tips and tricks, accessing Treasury's portal, you can do that through each of these links. So depending on where your credentials were verified through, you need to be using the corresponding website that we have up here. And I put a little screenshot of what on the left, login.gov, what that will look like, and id.me will look like. Once you complete your login information, this screen will pop up. You will click on state, local, and tribal support. So that's what the red circle means. You're clicking on that. And then you will come to this screen. So this introduction page, you can either click on the compliance reports or go to your reports in order to access the report you want to complete. So you'll have a list depending on whether or not you as a staff member of your tribe, if you are more than one ORP funded grant, you'll have a full list of all different compliance reports. And so you will look for the report name, which will start with HAF, QR if you're looking for quarterly, report type, quarterly, and it'll have an updated award date and the due date, and not started if you have not yet started. In order to start your report, you need to click on that blue icon with the white pencil in the middle. All right. So the quarterly report, as we mentioned earlier, this is more of a quantitative report. So this is more data, understanding how many homeowners applied, how many were denied, how many were helped, etc. This is, again, the landing. Once you open up that report, this is the landing page that you'll see providing you instructions. And you'll see on the left-hand side, all the different tabs correspond to groups of questions that you will be answering in this report, and we'll walk you through it. So here we go. Participant information. So the top blue box will be completed and filled out, so you don't have to worry about that. Do let us know if anything looks wrong. Email us at HAF_tribal@Treasury.gov. If you scroll down a little bit, there is a button called Manage Contacts, and that's where you can update your contacts and provide the staff name, email address that's been verified through either login.gov or id.me. It's really important that we have the most updated contact information. Even if you have mid-year changes, it's good program hygiene, if you will, to continue to update your contacts, because we push out a lot of emails with updates, with new information, webinars, that if we don't have your email address, we can't contact you. So please do use that to update your contacts through the reporting period if you have not done so already. The next tab is on budget reporting. So I know that this screenshot's a little bit exposed, but you'll see that the middle column has these gray pencils, and so does the far right column has these pencils. So what you'll do is you'll go in here and you'll see what the current budget amount is, and that will be across all of these different program elements or program designs, excuse me, and then what you're currently budgeted for. The middle column, as I mentioned, your cumulative obligations, so you'll update that by using the little gray pencil, and then your cumulative expenditures. So this is just to show what you've obligated versus what you've expended. So then be sure to click Save to update the totals. And so then it'll capture everything. It'll make sure that for example, your cumulative obligations do not exceed your current budgeted amount. This is a great place to confirm that your administrative costs are at or below 15% of your total allocation. That's a hard stop, 15%, and be mindful of your spending on the administrative side. So in case you do run afoul of budgeting reporting errors, so you'll see here that counseling and education, the current budgeted amount was $35,000, but the obligated amount was $70,000. So this red text and this red box will pop up, and you'll have to either explain or go back and make changes. The expenditures, obligations or expenditures more than 10% greater than the budgeted amount will flag this. So just as an FYI. Next up is programmatic information. This is the first of 2 slides. So I think there's roughly 15 questions here. Providing information about your HAF participant program, and you'll be asked to provide number of unique homeowners whose applications were approved, et cetera. So these are fairly straightforward. So then here's the latter half of the questions. And this is intended to help you prepare. Next, we're going to go over the programs. So you'll enter in your programmatic information. So this is where you talk about mortgage. You'll click, see that number 1, you'll add a program, and you will add in, mortgage payments, mortgage assistance. And the next slide, this is how you fill out. You'll click Save, and then you'll add the design element. So what aspect of mortgage assistance are you providing? So this is where you give more information on that. And underneath design elements, so you'll say facilitating interest rate reductions and provide the data around that. So if there's any errors, again, you'll see that this red box will pop up, and you'll just have to go back and make the changes. Next, this is verifying that your obligations and your expenditures align with what you said earlier. And so this is just to give you a preview of the red box in case there's any errors. So the final real section is participant compliance. This is to make sure that we know how your program is operating around different elements, such as the maximum conforming loan limit. If you say no to many of these questions, or no, if you answer in a certain way, a explanation box will pop up, and making sure that you are requiring attestations and determining income. So these are the participant compliance questions that are coming through. So for authorized users, this box will pop up. This is how you know you've gotten to the end of the quarterly report. And so you'll enter in your name if you are the authorized user, you'll validate and certify. And then another pop-up will show, and it'll say, are you sure you want to submit? Because if you do submit, it'll become read-only and you won't be able to edit it. So that's this is kind of the final. But you can validate and move on. Okay, so now that we've gone through the quarterly, let's go through the annual report, which is more of a qualitative report and how you're going about what impact your program has. So again, you can find the reports on your reporting page when you click through, and you'll just see annual report and the reporting period, the due date, and click that blue icon with the white pencil. Again, there's introduction, some instructions. You'll click next. And then there's a couple of situations where a pop-up will come and actually prevent you from completing or submitting the final report with data. That's totally fine if either any of these three situations apply to your tribe. So if your tribe has not yet submitted your HAF plan, again, please get going on that. Treasury highly encourages you to do so. You'll enter your name here and you'll click submit, and you'll pretty much won't be able to submit your annual report with data, and that's fine. We know that you haven't submitted your HAF plan and that 10% of your funding, you wouldn't be able to really talk about anything qualitative. So this will shorten your reporting. Again, if your tribe has submitted a HAF plan but it has not yet been approved, a similar box will pop up. We do appreciate your patience as we get through the approval process. You'll write your name to certify that you are submitting your annual report without providing updated program information, which again is fine, and press submit. The only scenario where that you should be concerned, and shoot us an email at HAF_tribal@Treasury.gov, is if neither of these cases are true and you are getting these pop-ups. Oh, and finally, spoke too soon. If your tribe submitted your HAF plan and it was approved, but after the applicable reporting period, so after September 30th, you'll see this pop up. We know that you can't in 2 weeks have a meaningful reporting information for an annual report. So again, you'll certify and move on. However, if none of those apply to you, none of those scenarios apply to you, again, the participant information will show up, and we do encourage you to manage the contacts to make sure your staff is up to date. You can also do that in the quarterly report, as we talked about earlier. You're going to see that many of the sections in the annual report mirror that of your HAF plan. Basically, it's just providing us an update. The annual report provides us an update on how your HAF plan is going. And it's totally fine if your HAF plan if your program deviated from that HAF plan. This is a great place to capture that. So the first section, community engagement and outreach. Did you continue outreach to communities once your HAF program began? Yes or no? How much total amount of funds did you spend on outreach? And then you'll see that there's a button there's that white bar in the middle, and that'll be a list of the community-based organizations that you listed in your HAF program or even in your previous HAF plan. But if you need to make any changes, add a new organization or provider, you can do so by clicking that blue button. And this is the information that we will be asking for from you about adding a new community-based organization or provider. So basic contact information, whether or not it primarily serves low to moderate income earners, addresses the impact of housing, if you performed outreach to this organization during the reporting period, yes or no. And then very important button, click Save New Organization or Provider to capture that. And then when you do that, it'll all populate up on that previous screen and create a list. Next up are performance goals. So this is something that from your HAF plan, you provided performance goals to say how you felt that the program design element underneath your payment assistance, how that would be impactful and how you would measure that. So this is how you enter your goal information. So the goal title, design element says mortgage payment assistance, and then the description that you provided in your HAF plan. So this should be all pre-populated up here. And then below the line, your status, it can be on track or not on track. Again, the best answer is the one that accurately reflects what's going on with your tribe. Provide us some information about actual measurable results and a narrative description and comments. So it's okay to let us know if something needed to change, if, for example, interest rate reduction might not have been possible. And so that's a good place to let us know what's going on. Again, performance goals, they will be captured in this list, and you'll be able to edit data in that blue button on the right-hand side. So methods for targeting, this is another piece from your HAF plan, providing us an update on what your targeting plan looked like, including challenges and successes. And so the next question is if the targeting plan that you included in your HAF plan is achieving the desirable results, yes or no. Again, if the answer is no, that's fine. Just give us some feedback on that. A great part of the annual report is really gathering those more qualitative pieces of information, or just the softer side that you can't really see through data. So 0 or 1 of impact is one thing, but this is why. This is where we capture that information and be able to provide additional assistance to your tribe or others who may be experiencing the similar challenge. Best practices and coordination. So this is asking about if you've coordinated with any agencies, yes or no, and to help us understand how your tribe worked with these agencies, and perhaps to help inform future collaboration either through HAF or in another program. And then any coordination with servicers, any best practices or information on your coordination efforts, that would be fantastic as well. We can get a better understanding as to what your experience has been and figure out if there's any broader trends or support that we can offer. So finally, and thank you for your patience, the certification page for the annual report asks a few questions. So did you earn interest in excess of $500 through the calendar year ending December 31st of 2022? If so, if yes, how much? And if you earned more than 500, did you remit that earned interest? So there's some information that we can provide on that. We don't need to focus on that right now, but we're happy to answer any questions about earned interest if that is something that your tribe has questions about, especially CFR 200. So then again, this page has to be completed by the authorized representative or account administrator in order to move forward. So with that, the final slide. For more information, we have a great amount of resources on our website, so you'll see the website there. Also, feel free to send us an email anytime, HAF_tribal@Treasury.gov, and then join our weekly office hours every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Through the same link that you registered for today to ask the questions directly to the HAF staff. But before we go, I just want to make sure I'll check in with my friend Jen to make sure I didn't miss anything or if there's any additional details that she'd like to provide.
Sure, thanks, Courtney. Before we get into the Q&A, just a couple other things for us to think about. If you're the reporter, collaborate with the finance staff, or if you're the finance staff and you're doing the reporting, with the program director. So Courtney mentioned that the quarterly report contains the quantitative side, the quantitative data, and she went through the screens with us. And she also went through the screens on the annual report, and that contains a lot of qualitative data, including, narratives. Not that you need to do a college essay, but enough to answer some of the questions. So these reports work best when you collaborate with the finance staff and the program staff together. So make sure that the program staff agrees with the financials before you enter the data. Look through the P&L, but sometimes miscoding happens, especially if, the housing department or if you're the social services department and you're running the program. A lot of times you're managing multiple awards, so miscoding can happen. And if you're the reporter and if the costs do not look, reasonable, don't be afraid to ask. If they don't meet the reasonable test and something doesn't look right, maybe it is miscoded or the invoice looks unusual, it is okay to question it. If people are charging their time to the administrative bucket of the HAF program, is there time where it's supposed to go? If there's rent being charged and let's say only 5% of the HAF staff work in the building, make sure that the costs are being allocated fairly. So review all of those items. If there's credit card charges or invoices and there's missing documentation or incomplete documentation, please talk this over with the program staff before reporting it to Treasury. because inadequate documentation, that can really lead to inaccurate reporting of expenses, and that could also lead to audit findings or question costs. So make sure you are tracking with accuracy and backup all of the money going out. And lastly, if you're having trouble with implementation or reporting, please reach out to us. And as Courtney said, her team hosts weekly office hours at 3 p.m. Eastern. So let us help you with your questions, especially when it comes to reporting. We want to be a good partner to Indian country. So with that, I'll close out.
Thanks so much, Jen. Thank you everyone for your patience. And so I'm going to stop the recording.